This is Greg. He bet a long snapper would go in the second round.
The long snapper from Florida is still waiting for his name to be called.
Now this is EJ. EJ tuned into SportsGrid's draft coverage. He checked the app, tracked the markets, followed the pros. He didn't guess. He knew. Be EJ. SportsGrid draft coverage continues Friday at 7 p.m. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more.
Betting above the rim. Only on Sports.
Did you get for having a goalie named Linus?
Right back in, baby. It's hour number 3. Are you refreshed? Are you rested? Are you ready? And how quickly the information goes through in those first 2 hours, which we just got the ice advice. Now, in hour number 3, we bring it all together, which includes a lot of Major League Baseball talk. But center stage tonight, once again, Joe Ranieri, that is the NFL draft, and round number 2 is on deck. Big names still on the board, quarterbacks to decipher, where they're going to go. Dreams and minted millionaires are what we expect. So, Joe, hour number 3, I expect nothing but the best from you here.
I am ready for it, much like, unlike Shedeur Sanders, who was not ready not to hear his name. I am ready here, Donnie. I am ready to roll in this hour. Let's get it going. And kudos to the Cleveland Browns. If they do go with Shedeur, he wouldn't have had to wait that much longer.
The Browns on the clock to start the draft in prime time tonight. We always like to say the SportsGrid Network is exactly the place that you need to be. Coverage will start at draft time. Once again, the boys will be in the room breaking down each and every pick, handicaps along with it. So make sure you're tuning in tonight to our central coverage right here. Now, let's get to what the people want to talk about, because we are a show, Joe, that likes to reach out and say, you know what? Let's be interactive. What do you feel? And also, if we should be fading the public. So our question today on our SportsGrid account on X, the question was, which quarterback will have a better NFL career? The 2 choices listed, one's drafted, one's undrafted. That first choice, Jackson Dart of the New York Giants. The number 2 choice here, Shedeur Sanders of, we'll find out a little bit later today as we anticipate. If we look at the statistics coming in from the public here, Jackson Dart at close to 75% currently through a couple hundred votes. Shedeur Sanders at around 25%. So I'm going to ask you this question, Joe Ranieri. Which quarterback will have a better NFL career in your mind? And they haven't even played a snap yet.
Well, you and I both know, Donnie, that quarterbacks are an interesting position, and you're a product of your environment, a lot of these guys. I mean, look at Sam Darnold. Okay, you gave him Adam Gase when he came into the league. How did that work out for him? But then all of a sudden he goes to O'Connell in Minnesota, and now all of a sudden the guy has got a resurrected career. We've seen this time and time again. I think The risk with Jackson Dart is, will Dable be there next year, Donnie?
True.
Or is he going to have to go through another head coach and offensive coordinator? That's the risk. I think it all depends on where Shedeur Sanders lands. If he goes to the Rams and he gets McVay, then my answer will, without a doubt, be Shedeur Sanders will have a much better NFL career.
I think it is simple like that, too, because usually what happens, right, on bad football teams, and the Giants are a bad football team, like the new coach comes in, picks his quarterback, GM on the same page. You go, you're going to have 2 to 3 years to grow with this guy. And as long as we're going in the right direction, you might have a long and prosperous career together here. And that's what comes up where it's not as if Jackson Dart isn't a talent. He played in the SEC. Lane Kiffin was his coach. He's going to be schooled for the NFL, which is a good thing. But if you're coming into a situation, like, understand this. What happens if the Giants don't play Jackson Dart this year? And he's learning the system under Brian Dable. And it's just, Russ that's going to be the starting quarterback, or Jameis Winston, let's say. They get fired, and a new coach comes in and goes, I would have drafted Shedeur Sanders and not Jackson Dart. Like, you can sort of like mess up a career just that quick where you might not have the leverage to say, I have a couple years in the system to apply my craft. And also, Joe, it's not as if Jackson Dart was the number 1 overall pick in a surefire Hall of Fame where, like, that's my franchise guy. Late in the first round with a quarterback you have to trade up to get, you're sort of taking a flyer that you think down the road he can be the guy. But anybody knows in any environment, I don't care if it's a sales environment where one guy comes in and teaches you this way to sell, he gets canned, and the next guy goes, no, we're hard selling here now. We're not going to have the soft sales. Like, man, I just learned something completely new. Now I have to change. That could be Jackson Dart. But it is interesting. Like, how overwhelming is it? Just hate because we had a Shedeur question yesterday as well where it didn't work out here for him either. Like 75%, let's just say, you're saying that Dart's going to be the better quarterback going to the Giants at this point, then we don't even know where Shedeur is going, and it might be a great landing spot. It's crazy. He is getting so much hate here in day number 2 heading into the draft.
What, listen, because a lot of the other questions besides the physical attributes, right, and his inability, doesn't have great arm strength, is not going to be elusive. We're not talking about a Lamar Jackson type of situation here. It's going to be even more important for Shedeur Sanders to land in a place he can be successful. But the other big issue we kept hearing about with him, Donnie, was how dedicated is he to being an NFL quarterback and a franchise leader? I mean, we laughed about it earlier. The dude was driving a Bentley onto campus in Colorado. Yeah. Like, what is the motivation for this guy? It's not to feed his family. So what exactly is the motivation for him to do anything other than be like, nah, I'm out of here. He can do anything he wants at this point, but is being an NFL quarterback and a leader one of them? I think that's the big question mark.
There is a lot of question marks, too, but it's just so funny. Like, Shedeur Sanders, again, is a lightning rod at this point right now, but we keep on, asking the question out there, and it keeps coming back like, no, anything you ask us about Shedeur Sanders, we're going to have a negative impact upon it. Because understand this question wasn't who will have the better quarterback career. Cam Ward, who went number 1 overall, and then Shedeur is going undrafted. Like, of course, the number 1 overall pick, you have confidence that he's the best guy in the draft, and he should have a prosperous career at 75 to 25. But this is Jackson Dart, who was rising up the boards, a lot of question marks, and going to a questionable franchise right now with a questionable general manager, owner, and a head coach that's even getting the benefit of the doubt where we don't know who Shedeur is going. Now, let me ask you this question. If it is the Cleveland Browns that draft Shedeur Sanders, it's still Kevin Stefanski. And last time I checked around the league, has a pretty good MO here for being an offensive guy and also multiple-time coach of the year. Like, what is the prognosis where can Shedeur go for you today that goes, yup, Jackson Dart's going to have a way better career than this guy? Is there a team that you absolutely see that he can't go to, which is why the fans and the public are reacting this way?
Yes, Cleveland. I can't think of a worse fit than a blue-collar city like Cleveland or Pittsburgh. First of all, I don't think he is built to win games in December in the AFC North. He's 6'1", 212, and he doesn't have great arm strength. So I don't care how accurate you are. You're not going to go on the road to Baltimore or to Pittsburgh and win games if you can't throw it in 30-mile-an-hour winds. So I definitely think it would be a mistake for Cleveland or anybody in the AFC North. He needs a warm weather. He needs an indoor. He needs he needs a coach, too, that is going to be willing to work with him to get him to that point. I don't think he needs the pressure of coming in and having to be the number one guy. I mean, listen, it goes to Cleveland. That's it. That's all they're going to hear about is him having to be the starter. And Stefanski, like you said, could be a lame duck coach. What are you going to have to throw him in there now? Like, it makes no sense to me for Cleveland to draft him at all. They have so many other needs. They'll figure the quarterback in the third or fourth round. Don't forget, Quinn Ewers is available. There's a lot of other iffy quarterbacks available in this draft that you don't have to have the circus surrounding them when you draft them.
And also, it's not overwhelming in Shadour's favor, too, because let's understand this. We talked about the Cleveland Browns have 2 picks in the top 4 in the second round. And they do need a quarterback. And we're saying, like, if it's not the guy, they don't want to overreach for him. But the talking points are that he probably will end up. But how about this? The 33rd overall pick, which right now sits with the Cleveland Browns, he's only a minus 140. And then you see the team to draft him is the Cleveland Browns at only a minus 160 price. So let's just say that the overwhelming thought would be is if they wanted him, yes, he'd be a minus 250, minus 260. And then as the word gets out a little bit later, start to increase that. But it is kind of telling that this is no forgiven going conclusion. Like, oh, man, the Browns fell right to him there at round number 1 or round number 2, I should say, or even 4 picks later. This would be interesting to come down because I want to see if he's actually the first quarterback taken off the board in round number 2, because then if he isn't, boy, the questions are really starting to come up. Where does he actually land? Which team wants him? And also, is there smoke, there's fire, where teams were just avoiding him altogether? We'll find out right away. And the Cleveland Browns probably let us know immediately in round number 2. Let's get to the MLB Diamond next on a Friday edition of The Early Line.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
11 times now without a major, 14 times at the Masters. He finally has the green jacket. Rory McIlroy.
The best sporting event so far this year. It's better than Super Bowl. It was better than the NCAA tournament. It had ups and downs. It had roller coaster rides. It had history, legacies. It had everything you could ever possibly want.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, Major League Baseball. Did you know we're actually playing games today? Maybe not, because we have so much playoffs to talk about in the NHL. We had so much in the NBA, which we'll get to a little bit later in hour number 3, and a lot of coverage on the draft, and rightfully so. And as an exciting day opens for day number 2 of the draft, which you want to be right here. Your focus should be on the SportsGrid Network all throughout the day, prepping you and getting ready. And then the boys will be in studio live for draft round number 2. But we do have some big doings in Major League Baseball today, which includes the West Coast, Joe Ranieri. If you're up late watching round number 2, why not tune in to rotation 961, 962? That's the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers, a 10-10 start out in Chavez Ravine. The Pittsburgh Pirates throwing their ace, Paul Skeens, against Yamamoto. Maybe an ace there for the Dodgers. Look at this price point, Joe. Opened up at minus 215 with Skeens on the mound. You would think he might be a favorite. He's not. He's the dog. It's even higher right now at a minus 225 price for those Dodgers and a total of 7. But by the way, looking at statistics, Yamamoto's xFIP coming into today on the season, a 1.81. Phenomenal. Paul Skeens coming in at a 2.59. Really good here. 7 runs. I don't know if we get there, but in your mind, are we overrating this matchup, or is it just, hey, Pittsburgh, I don't think you can get very many base hits tonight?
Well, I mean, they just came off of a extra inning loss last night to the Angels, but they did win the series finally, Pittsburgh, which is great. They look like they finally started to hit the ball, but now you got to take a short, bus ride there to go to Chez Ravine and take on the Dodgers, which, let's be realistic, this is a totally different animal that they're going to be walking into. And as good as Skeens is, we've seen that, he's tends not to get the run support against better teams that he might against a team like the Angels. So Yamamoto, to your point, has been absolutely lights out here. And the bullpen of the Dodgers has also been great. So where are the runs coming from in this game is my question, because Pittsburgh's bullpen has actually been pretty decent over the last month here, Donnie. So to me, it's a dead under in this game. Good luck trying to figure out where the runs are coming from.
Exactly. Both pitchers in really good form. Pitchers ballpark tonight. And also, you take a look from a Pittsburgh perspective. I don't trust, it's not that I don't trust the bullpen. I know Skeens probably give me a good environment tonight. I know Yamamoto's going to do the same. Under 3.5 first 5 innings where they don't get the 4 runs, I think makes some sense in this one. Also, if you were on Pittsburgh last night, this is a 3.5 team total at a minus 150 price. Pretty expensive. 3 runs, Joe, by the end of the second inning for Pittsburgh on the road. Oh, they got this in the bag. Pittsburgh winds up with 3 runs in that game yesterday. Tough scene all the way through. I don't trust the bats on Pittsburgh's side, which means Yamamoto's going to have a good start. And then from a Paul Skeens perspective, I think over the first 5 innings, he can settle down those Dodger bats. Give me the under 3.5 to start that game. Game number 2 we'll take a look at. Let's keep it out in the state of California. 10-15 start. That's Texas. That's San Francisco. Eovaldi on the mound here for the Rangers, going up against Verlander, the veteran, for the Giants. This line opened up as a minus 118 price at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Dropped slightly to 116, but in all intents and purposes, really a pick-em game. 7s have turned into 7.5s on the total. Any thoughts out there in San Francisco, Texas, and San Francisco?
Yeah, Bruce Bochy, didn't he lead the Giants to a world championship way back when, too, as their manager? Now he's with the Rangers taking in, and Verlander's 107 years old. So, there's a lot of legends at this ballpark here tonight. But the Rangers' bats continue to worry me here a little bit. And there is no doubt that this Giants team, much better offensively, I think, than we've given them credit for. So I would look for the Giants in this game early. I do think that the first 5, not a bad look for this Giants team, who's got the rest advantage here. I like Verlander really at home here, starting to come into his own. I like him to limit what is a struggling Texas lineup to begin with, who might not have Seager again.
Yep, correct. Yeah, so it is a damaged goods lineup per se. And also take a look at Nathan Eovaldi. Pretty good start to the season, though. 30 2/3 innings pitched, a 2.64 ERA and a 2.61 xFIP number. Let's see what those runs can be. 7.5 is the total. So that opening line was 7. So the betting market's adjusting, and actually people betting into the over, sending that up slightly higher. Third game we'll take a look at is actually the first game on the card today. That's the struggling Philadelphia Phillies. Got swept out of New York, one of the hotter teams in baseball, the New York Mets. We'll see what changes. And by the way, the Cubs pretty good opening to the season, playing tough competition. Taijuan Walker on the mound had a great start to the season, fell off a little bit on his last start, to say the least, going up against the Cubs' Colin Ray. This line opened up as a slight favorite towards the Cubs at minus 126. You see the graphic here on TV, minus 130, Joe? It's actually minus 144 now as a favorite towards the Cubs, and other marketplaces as high as a minus 150 price. The total opened up at 8, still sits at 8 at FanDuel, but across the market, some 8.5s are starting to show. Cooler conditions in Chicago, wind blowing in, but the Phillies just not in the right space. Same thing as last year, Joe. Guys on base, can't drive them in. A tale as old as time for the Fightin' Phils.
And they nobody's hitting home runs for them. I mean, they have 21 home runs on the year, and I think there are 8 teams that have less than that, only 8 teams that have less than that. So you're right, Donnie. To your point, they get these guys on base, but they're not getting that big shot. If it's not Schwarber, who's got 7, or Bryce Harper, I think, who's got 5, where is everybody else? Where is Baum? Where's Trey Turner? Where is everybody else with the long ball here? I would have expected a little more power from this Philadelphia lineup, but you're not getting it, which is why we're kind of mired in a 4-game losing streak. And the Cubs, though, well, the Cubs are getting the hits and they're getting the power. And offensively, I get why the market is leaning towards them here. I still like the over, though, in this matchup.
Yeah, I always like to say, too, like, even if the wind's blowing in double digits in Wrigley, what, you can't get singles and doubles in that ballpark and score runs? You're not asking for 10.5. It's basically 8 at this point right now. But what the Phillies used to do so well was, let's get guys on base and go, well, they only score with home runs. Yeah, but they used to hit a lot of home runs at this point. They're not doing that. So now it turns into, I got a leadoff walk, then I got a base hit. It's first and third, 1 out. I strike out, I pop fly, and things just aren't working in that right direction. Now, a new chance for a new day for them to bounce back against the Cubs. But this isn't the old Cubs, man. Playing good baseball to start this season. And if we just look at the statistics today with Colin Ray, 13 2/3 innings pitched on the season, which isn't a lot. But how about a 1.32 ERA and an xFIP of 3.37? Now, if the Phillies bats break out, we could see some runs. If not, is this a 2-1 game at this point right now? We won't know. More baseball on deck. Don't you dare change that dial.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
11 times now without a major, 14 times at the Masters. He finally has the green jacket. Rory McIlroy.
The best sporting event so far this year. It's better than Super Bowl. It was better than the NCAA tournament. It had ups and downs. It had roller coaster rides. It had history, legacies. It had everything you could ever possibly want.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Don't look now. The first place Metropolitans here in the NL East taking on another NL team, the Washington Nationals. We're just looking to get some sort of a semblance of we play good baseball on a day-to-day basis. Got a fun young lineup in there, but today they are a decided underdog, and probably rightfully so. A 6:45 start, rotation 9:53, 9:54. The Mets take on the Nationals. Senga versus Irvin. You take a look at the opening number. Minus 186 here at the FanDuel Sportsbook has dropped slightly to minus 180 across the board. Minus 180s, minus 175s. But the runs opened up at 9, currently now sitting at 9.5 at FanDuel, as well as a couple other outlets as well. You take a look at Senga versus Irvin. Senga coming into the season, in the season, 22 2/3 innings pitched. How about an ERA of 0.79, but an xFIP of 4.02? Which means you say, boy, he's a dominant pitcher. I can't believe that number's high. That's why we see the 9.5 starting to creep up. Runs might be expected today, but the red-hot Mets taking on the Nats here, Joe.
Yeah, well, he's had some success, Senga, against this Nats team before, though a couple of years ago. But listen, the Mets have proven at Citi Field they're going to be a tough out, right? I mean, they just swept the Cardinals, they just swept the Phillies, but they're only 500 on the road this year, 6-6 here, and the Nats are still in the midst of a pretty good run here. The bats are going well for them. Mackenzie Gore just couldn't get any run support yesterday, and they were lucky. If it wasn't for a home run in the 5th inning, Baltimore, that was all they needed in order to win that game. But Nats at home here, until I see it from the Mets, that success at home has to translate to the road. I think this is a tough spot for them. I do like the Nats in this one to get out early, so I'll be looking to back them at plus money in the first 5.
Yeah, a slightly higher xFIP number here for Senga than Irvin here, but it's pretty close, 3.70 to 4.02. So technically, based on analytics, you might have the better pitcher on the mound, not name-wise, but it would be the Washington Nationals starter. But again, line up better for the Metropolitans, and also how good the Mets have been playing over the past couple weeks. I think, seven or 8 games in a row they've won at this point, looking to translate that into even more. And playing an inferior opponent, maybe they can run it up to double digits. We'll find out certainly this weekend. I'll tell you one interesting game. It's Atlanta and it's Arizona. That'll take place tonight at 9:40 p.m. Eastern, 9:59, 9:60 on the rotation. It's Sale and Gallen. And typically you'd say to yourself, like, ooh, 2 aces on the mound. Not really the case this season. Zach Gallen threw 27 1/3 innings pitched, an ERA of 5.60. Now, his xFIP number is a little bit lower at 4.42, but then you sort of slide up and say, well, what's going on with Chris Sale? 23 1/3 innings pitched for him, a 6.17 ERA, but a 3.28 xFIP. So he's getting a little bit unlucky at this point. But 2 guys that normally lock it down, not looking so great. You look at the sides, a minus 126 favorite for the road team here. Atlanta has grown slightly to minus 134. You take a look across the board, minus 135s out there as well. A total of 8.5. 2 ace pitchers, not necessarily dealing this year like aces, Joe.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because we all know how bad Atlanta started this season, right? Well, Arizona wasn't exactly great either, but both teams seem to have settled down. A great homestand for Atlanta. I think they doubled their wins, right? They went 5-1 at home against the Twins and against the Cardinals. But now we got to go on the road, and Zach Gallen has always been a guy that has been better at home than he has been on the road, but he is just he's not missing a lot of bats so far this year, Donnie, which has gotten him into trouble here. But Corbin Carroll is an absolute monster. I believe he's leading the National League in home runs right now at 9, and he has just been on a tear. So although you have both number ones on the mound, I feel like I got to give the advantage to the home dog here in Arizona. I think both have questionable bullpens for right now, but I like the way Arizona at home is swinging the bat right now.
Yeah, Corbin Carroll's been an absolute monster in that lineup. But also keep in mind, Ketel Marte's been out a couple weeks now with that hamstring injury. When he gets back, that's a formidable lineup. Looks like it's a lot of fun, and 2 pitchers that, let's see if they can hold up to their ace mentality, or they just say, you know what, we're just pitching the 5 ERAs on the season. We come away with some runs. Another quick one here up in the Bronx today, Joe. Toronto and New York, 7:05 start. High total in this one, 9.5. Side, though, Carrasco, a minus 146 favorite at the opening numbers, dropped to 132. Toronto and New York, could we see some runs? Looks like the odds makers are anticipating that.
Well, if they can't hit Carrasco, the Blue Jays, then I don't know what to tell them here. But they have had some success, this Yankees lineup against Berrios, too. So I agree with the over. I'd even go first 5 over, Donnie.
How about this? You know what's going over tonight? NBA games, baby. Could we get points there? Let's review it next. It's Joe and Donnie. Let's hit the association.
Vegas knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Hasn't been a ton of indication that Cleveland is even looking at anybody outside of Travis Hunter. The Giants, yes, have worked out Shedeur Sanders.
I do think there's going to be at least 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Not because they deserve the first round, have a first round grade on them per se, but the fact that you get the extra year of control, somebody's going to slide into one of those 30, 31, or 32 slots and grab a quarterback.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today. Only on SportsGrid. This is Greg. He bet a long snapper would go in the second round.
The long snapper from Florida is still waiting for his name to be called.
Now this is EJ. EJ tuned into SportsGrid's draft coverage. He checked the app, tracked the markets, followed the pros. He didn't guess. He knew. Be EJ. SportsGrid draft coverage starts Thursday at 7:30 p.m. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's get down to the business today. The NBA on a Friday, a triple header tonight, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and 9:30 Eastern. 3 games, big doings. Teams need to climb back in the series. Teams looking to take a stranglehold on the series, Joe Ranieri. And let's start with the game that's going to be the late one tonight. That's a 9:30 start. It's the Lakers and the Timberwolves from Minnesota tonight. If we look at the opening line, the Minnesota Timberwolves at the FanDuel Sportsbook were a -2.5 point favorite. That line now sits at 3 at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Other books, Joe, as high as 3.5. Just like playoff basketball. Open up at a 208 total. That is now dropped to 205.5 at the FanDuel Sportsbook and just about every other outlet. Let's start there with the price points of the side and the total. Any thoughts on those opening lines as we head into the game tonight?
Yeah, listen, I think advantage Timberwolves. And I think anything other than looking at the under would be crazy in this game here, Donnie. We know both of these teams are playing at one of the slowest paces so far in the playoffs. Both teams have one of the lowest effective shooting percentages as well thus far in the playoffs. But listen, there's nothing easy going to be given to LeBron James or Luka. Luka knows how difficult this is going to be. The question to me is really whether or not the Lakers can come up with enough defense in order to give themselves an opportunity to win this game late. But when you look at it, I mean, unders, the Wolves at home have gone under in 7 of their last 8 games. They've got a ton of bodies they can throw at Luka. And the Lakers, by the way, under in 5 of their last 7 games. I think the first one to 101 wins this game.
Take a look at the points props in this game at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Luka Doncic very healthy at 30.5. LeBron James at 22.5. Anthony Edwards, the Ant-Man from Minnesota, 26.5. Are there any players that you're looking at tonight maybe going over, staying under their points prop? Who would that be tonight for you, Joe?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm going to go off the grid here a little bit, and I'm going to look at Naz Reid over 11.5 points here. We know that the Lakers have decided that in a lot of spots they're going to go small ball here, and that's fine. You can do that. That means Naz Reid coming off that bench is going to be able to get whatever he wants when he wants. And, same thing with Rudy Gobert. I think he was a big factor in game one. He had 23 points. He didn't have a great game last game, which I think is why we're only getting 11.5 here. I don't think the Lakers have an answer off the bench for him. So to me, I'd look to back him up and over that point prop.
See, I like that. I like where you're going here because I'm always under the notion that, the starters, what you're going to get out of them. That's why they're starters home and away. But the bench players always play typically better at home. And Naz Reid's one of those guys. If he gets hot from three-point range, he'll just keep shooting and knocking those shots down. So it's good looks as opposed to taking sometimes just those superstars or the Batman and Robins. Take a look at those B and C items. Maybe they can get you over to the finish line. If we look at this series as a whole now, because we know first two games were in LA, they split. Back to Minnesota, you always want to take care of home court advantage if you're the Timberwolves. But if you're looking at the price points to win the series, it's relatively close. The Lakers, Joe, the slight favorite of FanDuel at a minus 118 price to win the series. The Timberwolves at a plus 100. Buying into the Timberwolves more, or should this be a Lakers series? Because for me, I always love conspiracy theories. The NBA would love the Los Angeles Lakers to beat the Timberwolves. I always have a little bit of factor in there for that. I'll take the Lakers minus 118, regardless of what happens tonight. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, you know what? I would look for the Timberwolves early in this one. At home, bouncing back. I would look for them in the first half, Donnie, and then I would look to be able to get the Lakers at plus money or getting a few more points here at some point in the first half and look to get a nice middle somewhere along the line here because ultimately I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game, so I think it's going to come down to the final couple of possessions. And the Lakers are very live to win this, but I think we can get a much better price in game on it.
Yeah, let's see what happens tonight. Exciting game again, 9:30 start tonight. That's the third of the triple header tonight. Let's flip it back to game number 2 on the card tonight. That's an 8 o'clock start. That's the Indiana Pacers and the Milwaukee Bucks. Home for Milwaukee. The total in this game opened up at 230.5, which is a very high number for the playoffs. Still sitting at 230.5 here at the FanDuel Sportsbook. The side, though, we do have movement. The opening line, minus 3.5 for the Bucks. That's now up to 5.5 at the FanDuel Sportsbook and many other books listed as well. If we look at this game, because we just talked about the Lakers and Timberwolves, 1-1. Sure, both teams want to win it, but not life and death if you lose it. A kitchen sink game, as I like to talk about, the Bucks can't afford to lose this game. Does that play into your mindset for the Bucks and that line movement? And also, which side you looking at tonight?
Yeah, well, I love the fact that you have a Pacers team that's playing unbelievable basketball right now, but that shouldn't come to a shock, right, Donnie? Because they've been playing ever since after the All-Star break. They've been playing some of the best basketball all year, and they have been one of the better teams in the second half, them and the Clippers, in fact. But them winning games at home the way they are and then doing it in Milwaukee, I think is a different ball game. They lost both regular season games here, when they played Milwaukee on the road. I think having 2 days off helps Damian Lillard too as well, who was a little bit rusty here. I think you're going to get a rejuvenated Bucks team here. I think they are going to have no problem scoring enough. I think they'll get a few more stops on the road here. Either way, it's very hard for me to look at the over because I do think if Milwaukee's got any shot to get back in the series, they are going to not allow Indiana to shoot 55% and anything they want from three. So I think we get a better defensive effort tonight. I like the under, and I like the Bucks to win one.
Yeah, we'll see if they can shut it down, but the tempo should be decent in the game tonight. I want to focus here on the Bucks superstars. That's Giannis Antetokounmpo for you, Joe, and of course, Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard came back after that extended layoff there with the blood clots. Wasn't all that efficient, but played close to 30 minutes in that game. His points prop is listed at 23.5. They're home. Is this a buy-in for you on Lillard, or you still need to see more at this point, and you're just going to say to yourself, man, it's Giannis. Like, if Giannis gets 35-plus points, a good chance they can win. Giannis scores 24 for me. The Bucks aren't winning. How do you approach Antetokounmpo and Lillard tonight?
No, you need to listen. Giannis can't do it on his own in this series against this Indiana team. We've already seen that in games 1 and 2. The first game back, it was great to have Lillard, but usually when superstars come back after a long layoff, Donnie, the rule of thumb for me is always fade them in that first game and back them in the second game once they've had a chance to get their legs under them. And I think that's what you're going to see here tonight. And I think Milwaukee shoots the three much better at home in this matchup. But if they don't play defense, if they don't get some stops, it doesn't matter what Lillard or Giannis do. Giannis will be Giannis, but he's got to get other guys involved in this game at some point.
Yeah, you know what the funny part, too, is we talk about that Detroit Pistons-New York series as it gets a little edgy. This series is edgy, and these two teams can't stand each other, which you'll love to see it. So it adds to that intrigue of what we're going to get now that we flip from the Pacers home to the Milwaukee Bucks. If we are looking at the series prices, Joe, at the FanDuel Sportsbook to win the series, no question, it's a heavy favorite towards the Pacers. They won the first two games here. They're a minus 420 price. The Bucks come in at a plus 330 price. So looking at the outcome tonight, the spread moving from 3.5 to 5.5, the anticipation is a Bucks win. When's the time to buy in on the Bucks? Or, Joe, in your opinion, is it, yeah, it's nice they win, but they can't beat the Pacers in the series regardless of what happens tonight?
Well, again, if Lillard is back to form, and I mean, let's not forget, outside of these last two games, the Bucks heading into the playoffs were absolutely unbeatable, Donnie. They were doing it defensively. They were doing it offensively. You get Lillard back here tonight, and if he shows up and shows out, they need this game. And if they do, I think they're very, very much alive. Don't forget, the series doesn't start until a road team wins.
True. Absolutely correct. And by the way, Lakers, Timberwolves, 1-1 here. We'll see who takes control of that series. The Pacers and the Bucks. Do the Bucks want to extend this and have a series, or just a formality if they lose that game? A third game is going to take place tonight at 7 o'clock down at the Magic Kingdom. Let's talk about the Celtics and the Magic next, right here on a Friday edition of The Early Line.
Vegas knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Hasn't been a ton of indication that Cleveland is even looking at anybody outside of Travis Hunter. The Giants, yes, have worked out Shedeur Sanders.
I do think there's going to be at least 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Not because they deserve to be first round, have a first round grade on them per se, but the fact that you get the extra year of control, somebody's going to slide into one of those 30, 31, or 32 slots and grab a quarterback.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats typically in your direction if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball Today. Only on SportsGrid. This is Greg. He bet a long snapper would go in the second round.
The long snapper from Florida is still waiting for his name to be called.
Now this is EJ. EJ tuned into SportsGrid's draft coverage. He checked the app, tracked the markets, followed the pros. He didn't guess. He knew. Be EJ. SportsGrid draft coverage starts Thursday at 7:30 p.m. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
One game left on the docket tonight of the NBA Friday night playoff tripleheader. We hit the Pacers and the Bucks, we hit the Lakers and the Timberwolves, and now the 7 o'clock start down in Disney. 5:53, 5:54 on the rotation. That's the Boston Celtics taking on the Orlando Magic. The opening number in this game was -5.5 at the FanDuel Sportsbook. That is now 4.5, and most other outlets also, Joe, showing 4.5. Another low total in this series. A 198 opening number still sits 198 now at FanDuel. Other books have moved to 197. So let's start with the Celtics and the Magic, and also the elephant in the room, I guess, will be is I don't know if it's official Tatum is out, but this line is telling us Tatum probably is not going to play, and rightfully so. Why rush him back? So starting with the side itself, Orlando got beaten games 1 and game number 2 back in Orlando. Is there a chance that they can win this game and at least send this series back to Boston?
Yeah, well, very possible. I mean, we know that Orlando has been much better at home, Donnie, and at least they have made it somewhat uncomfortable at times for this Boston team, right? So it's not been a cupcake. The 109-100 win in last game over there certainly proved that 196.5 total might have been artificially too low there. But I still think we're going to get somewhere in that ballpark of 103 to 109 points from Boston. I don't see Boston exploding for 115 or more points. So the question you've got to ask yourself, Donnie, is if 100 wins this, can we count on the Magic doing it? Can the Magic actually steal one here at home? And they are a team I'd be looking to back early. I backed them last game early, in the first game in the first half, getting a ton of points. I don't see any reason not to back them early in this one, too. No Tatum makes it a little bit more difficult for the Boston Celtics on the road, who have been a little less defensive on the road than they had been at home. But I do think Orlando is live to cover this, win it outright. But I certainly like the Jaylen Brown over points prop, 23.5. I expect him to get the bulk of the scoring like he did in last game with no Tatum on the court.
Yeah, trying to find angles. You look at the first 2 games, and even though Tatum didn't play in game number 2, we know the Celtics are a better team than Orlando. That's not what the focus is. The focus is, can the Magic win one game and possibly push it back to Boston for at least a gentleman's sweep, which is probably what would take place. Jason Tatum, I don't think officially ruled out tonight, but the prognosis and based on the spread, as we talked about, he's probably not going to play. So the betting angles that you take in this game, right? Because for me, you're looking at sides, and the general public's going to say, man, come on now. You just saw the Celtics handle their business game number 2, at least by close to double digits at least. They should be able to win this game by 5 points going away. I think I'm getting a discount. But you also look at the betting numbers. This was a 5.5. That's now a 4.5. You look at the FanDuel Sportsbook directly under their stat numbers. 72% of the bets are coming in on Boston. 77% of the money on Boston. That should be an avalanche that sends it from 5.5 to 6.5 to 7.5. But that line dropped for a reason. So if you are saying, can Orlando make it a series? They have to win the game tonight, because if they lose tonight, I don't think there's a lot of gumption on Orlando saying, hey, man, let's rise up, Joe, game 4 and force a game 5 and get on a plane to get waxed in Boston one more time. This is their game tonight. So if you are looking for this series to possibly go back to Boston, I do think Orlando must win tonight, a plus 164 on the money line. But again, it is a hard sell. They're not as good Tatum or no Tatum to beat Orlando, but I do think I like the points tonight, getting 4.5 with Orlando, just for the fact is, I know I'm going to get the best out of Orlando tonight, win or lose, which I don't know if I'm going to get in game number 4 if they lose. Tatum's still out here. I think the Magic can keep this close enough, if not steal this game. Do I love it? No. But fading the public in this spot, I think it might be advantageous.
Listen, and Orlando is not built to come from behind, Donnie, right? So their best shot is they've got to go and they've got to punch first here. Now, they have been much tougher at home than they have been any place else. So Boston didn't exactly run them over this season, especially in Orlando. So I do think their best shot is to punch first and get out ahead. 101 points is your first half total, and they are getting 1.5 points here. I like Orlando on the money line in the first half. Would not shock me that they have the lead going into the second half. And then it's a matter of whether or not they can make enough shots and limit Boston enough to be actually, to get the outright win.
Yeah, you take a look at Jaylen Brown, too, which I know you'll be high on tonight. Anytime Tatum's out, it's like, okay, my time to shine. And even though that points number is low for the game, it's under 200, 24.5 is manageable. Because if you ask me before the game, if healthy and not in foul trouble, which you can sort of guarantee at that point, it's like, okay, randomly he's going to foul out or he's going to get injured. He's going to take at least 15 shots, like at least 15 shots for Jaylen Brown to get to 24.5, which means 3-point shots go down for extra points and also the free throw numbers. The interesting part here for me for the Magic is it feels like it's always two players. Like Boncaro is 27.5. Wagner is 24.5. Who else is going to step up for the Orlando Magic in this game and get 15, 16, 17 points to help out? The one guy I do like in this game, outside of the Orlando Magic, let's just say a bench player, always Peyton Pritchett. 13.5, Tatum's down. That means, again, an extra 15 to 20 shots are going to be up for grabs. I always like Pritchett off the bench to get three or more 3-point shots made. But if you're looking for more Orlando's, who do you take tonight for Orlando if you had a points prop? Is it just you're going top heavy, or maybe an Anthony Black who went over his number, who's bumped up from 6.5 in game number 2 to 7.5 in game number 3? Those bench players typically, again, play better at home.
And they better. They're going to need a big performance from them, absolutely, like they got in the play-in game in order to be able to advance to take on Boston here. So, yeah, I'm going to need a big bench effort. And you're right, Donnie, you'll get them from home. But it's this total that cracks me up. I mean, the Celtics team total is 101. If the Celtics win, they're not going to score more than 101 points if they win this game?
88-78, Joe, they're telling you right now at this point right now. Yeah, and basically what you're asking for is Orlando, just be competitive, and you should get over 100 points for Boston. But just be competitive, and you should be fine. If you're looking for the series price, Joe, minus $20,000 for those Celtics. How do you feel about that price?
Yeah, I might be worth some pizza money there. Find something to couch cushions, throw it on there. I'd feel safe with that. My goodness.
Exactly. Woo. Maybe get a crab claw from Joe Stone Crab down there. Could be affordable at that price point at this point. Well, Joe's going to carry you home on the early line. Thank you for joining us today. It's a Friday. Take us home, Joe. Enjoy the rest of the show.
This is Greg. He bet a long snapper would go in the second round.
The long snapper from Florida is still waiting for his name to be called.
Now this is EJ. EJ tuned into SportsGrid's draft coverage. He checked the app, tracked the markets, followed the pros. He didn't guess. He knew. Be EJ. SportsGrid draft coverage continues Friday at 7 p.m. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Hasn't been a ton of indication that Cleveland is even looking at anybody outside of Travis Hunter. The Giants, yes, have worked out Shedeur Sanders.
I do think there's going to be at least 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Not because they deserve the first round, have a first round grade on them per se, but the fact that you get the extra year of control, somebody's going to slide into one of those 30, 31, or 32 slots and grab a quarterback.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
You cannot shoot 2 of 17 from 3 and think you're beating Steph and Jimmy Buckets, a.k.a. Playoff Jimmy, Playoff him, Himmy, whatever you want to call him. You can't shoot that bad and compete in the playoffs versus the Warriors. SGA wasn't even that good. You want to talk about non-competitive series? People want to talk about getting rid of play-in. Maybe we need to get rid of the 8 seed because this 8 seed got their ass kicked.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in here. The early line on this Friday. I'm Joe Ranieri. It's been a pleasure to get to spend this morning with you, and we're excited because we got much more coming up here on this Friday now as the end of April is almost upon us, but the NFL draft will take center stage here coming up 7 o'clock Eastern time tonight. In fact, we'll have another special edition of In-Game Live Draft Central for you at 7 o'clock Eastern, as the big question will remain, which team will draft Shedeur Sanders in the second round? And the answers and the odds are pretty interesting across the board. I don't think it's a great fit for the Cleveland Browns. The idea of a 6'1", 212-pound Shedeur Sanders without a great arm playing on the road in Pittsburgh or Baltimore in December and January, that does not excite me. And quite honestly, if I'm Shedeur Sanders, that's not the place that I want to go. But the odds-on favorite is, where will Shedeur Sanders be drafted, or who will draft him? It's heavy to the Cleveland Browns, but I think the Raiders are live. I think the Saints are live. And don't sleep on the LA Rams. I don't think it's a coincidence, by the way, that the Giants moved up a spot last night at the end of round one to jump in and grab Jackson Dart, because the team they jumped in order to get him was the LA Rams, who I have no doubt, and the Giants must have had no doubt, that Coach McVay and company would have selected him. Don't forget, he started his career. He's a Southern Cal guy. He was at USC before he ended up at Ole Miss there. So he is, I'm pretty sure the Giants thought that Jackson Dart was not going to be around if the Rams had an opportunity to draft him. And the Rams have a situation where they have Matt Stafford. He's 37 years old. How much longer is he going to play here? So now would be the time if they can go and get a quarterback. And I think that would be a great fit for Shedeur Sanders. No pressure to have to start and carry a team. You get to spend a year or so behind, Matt Stafford, future Hall of Famer. I don't see the downside in that. I see a lot of downside if Kevin Stefanski, who I think we can all agree is probably at some point a lame duck coach here for the Browns, you're going to get drafted by them. And what? Joe Flacco is the guy that is going to, or Kenny Pickett is the guy that he's going to learn from. I think it's a bad situation that will only get worse if the Browns dive in on Shedeur Sanders. But they will have that first pick. They'll have a couple of picks in the first 5 of the second round where if they want him, they can go and get him. But I'd be much more happy as a Cleveland Browns fan if Jalen Milroe was the quarterback decision that they decided to go in. I think his running ability, I think his size, I think that fits well for the Browns. Shedeur Sanders is going somewhere here today, but I think his future success has a lot depending on who he goes to. And by the way, the Jets are within the top 10 also of the second round. Maybe, just maybe, the Jets take a flyer on him. And boy, oh boy, could you imagine Shedeur Sanders with the New York media? Wow, that seems like a absolute bust out the popcorn kind of moment. So we've got plenty going on with the NFL draft tonight. We have, of course, 3 more NBA playoff games that Donnie and I just broke down for you here tonight. I really do think that the Orlando Magic early in the first half on the money line at plus money, not a bad way to go. They have won the first, or covered the first halves in both games in Boston. They won the first half outright. In fact, in game 1, they covered, getting 6 points in the first half. In game 2, they covered that. I think at home, they are going to be a tough out here for a Boston team that is likely without Jason Tatum. And then, of course, full Major League Baseball slate getting ready to start here at 2 o'clock Eastern time. The Cubs and the Phillies will be going at it to start the day. And we have got you covered across the SportsGrid network today, whether it be the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs also in full effect here tonight. There is no reason, and I mean no reason, for you to have to go anywhere. We have got you covered. I'll be back a little bit later tonight for Game Time Decisions to hang with you. We'll have updates on all the games across the board, getting you ready for a full slate. In the meantime, enjoy the day. Enjoy your weekend. The Early Line be back on Monday. Good luck.